it seems as if the Vols got a little bit slighted by a national publication that took a look at quarterbacks this century and had the top 75. Caleb, how many Vols were in that list of the top 75 quarterbacks of this century?
A resounding 0.
Hey now, that's not good. Do you find that to be accurate?
I went through the list, and no, I don't find it to be accurate. There are some quarterbacks that Tennessee could have had some guys over, but I will say that there are some that I also thought were too low. So just for context, Matt Ryan was number 75 on the list. He should have been higher. Anybody who watched Matt Ryan at Boston College in the mid-2000s knows he should be higher on that list. He single-handedly carried them to an ACC title. But some of the other, I think,
receivers.
I'm sorry?
Had a pretty good group of receivers, but anyway.
Yeah, but I think they did a lot of this as 4-year accomplishments because, look, David Green was on here. Look, I'm sorry. Let's take Hendon. I know David Green was a 4-year starter, but are you taking Hendon Hooker or David Green, Dave? Come on.
Okay, so let's get to it now. We're going to rank them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it gives us a great chance to look back at some stellar performances that occurred under very questionable administration and coaching. So, Caleb, let me begin with you. Do you want to do a countdown? Because I have my countdown ready. I can go first or you can go first. And I'm going to do it by my own rules. So I'm not doing it by the rules that have been laid out by this publication. So would you like me to go first or would you like to go first?
Why don't we alternate 5-5, 4-4, 3-3, 2-2, 1-1 and see how we end up?
Okay. All right. Let's count them down. You have, my friend, the first go at number 5. So who do you have at number 5?
My number 5, and it's by default, and he doesn't deserve it because he has the worst intangibles of anybody I've ever seen play quarterback, is Tyler Bray. Because even if he had terrible intangibles, his arm was just so special.
It was. Now, before I get to my number 5, who's your number 4?
My number 4 is Erik Ainge.
Okay. I'm going to agree with you. I think Tyler Bray is number 5. I'm actually, though, going to have Erik Ainge a little higher. So I have Josh Dobbs at number 4. And then that's my number 4. My number 3 is Erik Ainge. Actually, I'm going to take a pivot. Hendon Hooker is my number 3. Hendon Hooker is my number 3. What do you think of that?
I think that's crazy. Look at the last 2 years. That's insane. I'm sorry.
I'm basing this a lot off what they did in terms of team success. So that's why I've got Bray 5. I've got Dobbs at 4. And then I'm going to go Hooker at 3. I've got Erik Ainge at number 2 because of team success.
But hold on. I know Ainge technically won the East in 2007.
He didn't technically win the East. He did win the East.
Yes. But Tennessee never had a top 10 finish under him.
Well, I mean, you've got a coach who's on his way out, who's struggling. And if not for David Cutcliffe, that program falls apart like 3 years earlier.
Okay, but if we're talking about a quarterback that is saving a coach, then Josh Dobbs should be number 1 because he single-handedly kept Butch Jones from being fired like 3 years earlier.
Well, that's true. Okay, so I've got a countdown. Bray 5, top quarterbacks at Tennessee in the 2000s or the entire century, the 21st century. Would it be the 22nd? Anyway, Bray 5, Dobbs 4. That's my countdown. Hooker 3, Ainge 2. Ainge 2. Do you know who I've got as number 1?
Oh yeah, this is obvious. He's
okay,
my number 2, but he's your number 1.
Go with yours. Your 4 and your countdown.
So I've got Bray 5, Ainge 4, Dobbs 3, Casey Clausen to?
It's insanity. It's pure insanity. There is no question. Casey Clausen was a different level of quarterback than everybody we're talking about. Even Hendon Hooker, who I've got great respect for, but he found himself in a fantastic situation. Casey Clausen could go on the road. If he was Tennessee's quarterback this year, instead of an unproven Joe Milton, then Tennessee would be an in vogue pick to win a national championship. Casey Clausen was that good.
No, Hendon Hooker was better, and I'll tell you why. Casey, and I don't want to nitpick Casey because you're right, he was clutch. Didn't always he was clutch when he against the better teams, but he didn't always live up to the expectations against the lesser teams, and you know that to be true more than I do, Dave.
Well, that was the program as a whole, though.
But all right, let's break Casey Clausen. When you want to bring up team success, both Hooker and Clausen had one 11-2 season in which they finished in the top 6, roughly. Okay, Casey Clausen's 11-2 season, he had the best running back in the SEC. He had the best tight end of all time in NFL history that he was throwing to. He had 2 NFL wide receivers and one of the most loaded offensive lines that Philip Fulmer ever had. So he regressed in 2002. He got worse the next 2 years, Casey Clausen. But that's on Randy Sanders because he did not have good coaching. I will be the first to tell you Casey Clausen did not have good coaching, whereas Hendon Hooker had superb coaching the last couple of years. But Clausen did regress. Hooker, yes, you were going to say he had a Remington Award winner in Jalen Hyatt. Hendon Hooker made him a Remington Award winner. I don't think Jalen Hyatt is going to be that good of an NFL receiver.
Okay, so you've got, you mean Biletnikoff, right?
Yeah, did I say Remington? Yeah, I meant Biletnikoff, sorry.
That would be amazing if Jalen Hyatt won the Remington. So I got Casey, Ainge, Hooker, Dobbs, Bray. And
I've got Hooker, Casey, Dobbs, Ainge, Bray. And the thing with Ainge also, you can't ignore that 2005 season and how poor he played.
Well, no, you can't. But how about the impact of that was, again, a team issue. The two things you referenced, I thought were team issues in that Tennessee played down to its competition. Casey was certainly a part of that. And I think that 2005 was a dumpster fire. Ainge was a part of that. I don't think either one of them were responsible for that. And Casey Clausen's not the raw leader. Where you could have me on Hendon Hooker is leadership ability. I felt like Casey was one of the dudes, and you knew that he was going to be clutch and fine, and you didn't have to worry about it. But did he raw guys? Did he inspire leadership? I think of raw guy Al Wilson. Check out the Celebrate 98 series, by the way, which continues with the Travis Stevens and Travis Henry. So Al Wilson's a raw guy. Hendon Hooker's the inspirational leader. I don't think Casey Clausen was either one of those, but I might want to second guess that a little bit because he's turned into a heck of a coach out in Cali. So now I think that Casey Clausen is probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in Tennessee football history. So I'm way higher on him than you.
No, I still have him in my top 5 too in Tennessee football history. Most of my quarterbacks in Tennessee football history in my top 5 are this century. But wait, let me push back a little bit though. Maybe I could sway you with this, Dave. Legendary, wins, memorable wins. Hendon Hooker's most memorable win was against Alabama last year, right? By far. That may be the greatest win in Tennessee football history for a regular season. Casey Clausen had 2 of those. I think we both agree at Florida 2001 in the Swamp, right? Was one of them. The other one at Miami in 2003.
Yes.
I
wouldn't give Casey a lot of credit for that one. That was coaching. But anyway.
I agree. That's where I was getting at. I wouldn't give Casey a lot of credit for either of those wins. He threw for 168 yards at Florida. Travis Stevens ran for over 200 yards in that game. That's what won the game. And Casey didn't even throw for 100 yards at Miami. But I tell you what, I'll tell you what, you give Hendon Hooker more credit than anybody for the Alabama win.
Fair. I give Casey Clausen a lot of credit for what he did at Florida to be able to manage the ship. I'm not calling him Trent Dilfer, but I mean, that was Well, I mean, in that
You're saying
game,
him managing the ship was better than Hendon Hooker actually going out and winning the game himself.
I didn't say better than. I'm giving you the 2001 as yes, he didn't go out there and win it by throwing for 300 bajillion yards, but that was a tough place to play. If you remember, that was 2001 because of 9/11. I know you remember.
Oh yeah,
That was essentially a playoff game. That was a rabid, ready fan base. So I thought his cool demeanor was that. And as Steve Spurrier had he put his ego aside for just long enough, then Casey would have thrown and could have thrown. But it just absolutely wasn't going to happen. Spurrier was determined to throw the ball despite the fact that Tennessee was playing the pass. So Casey and Tennessee were able just to hand the ball off and play a little bit of ball control. But Casey Clausen is one of the most misunderstood quarterbacks in Tennessee football history. I don't understand why so many fans didn't like him. It makes no sense to me. I think he was one of the top 5 quarterbacks in Tennessee football history, and I've got him number 1 in the 2000s. Since the turn of the century, I've got him as number 1.
I can't. That also, because another one I'm going to go, there are losses I actually put on Casey. I can't put either of Tennessee's losses on Hooker last year. Like the 0-1 loss to LSU, I partially put that on Casey. Now, yes, Stallworth fumbled, Stevens fumbled, but Casey wasn't able to really carry the team in that game when things were going south. I also put, here's a big one, Dave. Okay, Florida 0-1, playoff game to win the East. Georgia 0-3 was a playoff game to win the East in the middle of October. How did Casey Clausen play in that game?
That's fair. I mean,
none
of these guys are perfect. I mean, it's not like we're comparing. If we said back to 1990, it would be Peyton Manning. And I understand your argument for Hendon Hooker, but I do think a lot of things fell his way. Out of that group, though, if I'm starting a football team, which is what I based mine off of, I would go Casey Clausen.
Not in Heupel's offense, because you need a little bit of mobility, too.
Actually, I think he'd be really good in Heupel's offense. You don't?
Casey, no, because Casey's not. We talked about this a couple of months ago. Remember, the mobility and the big arm are the most important parts of Heupel's offense. And Casey and Peyton Manning had the worst mobility of any Tennessee quarterbacks. The only difference is Peyton Manning had David Cutcliffe to coach him how to move in the pocket, whereas Casey Clausen had a former running backs coach in Randy Sanders, who was nothing but a recruiter, coaching him how to move in the pocket. I'm sorry. I'm being too hard on Randy Sanders, but
Smoky hot takes. We'll be breaking down some age-old Tennessee questions from time to time. If you got a topic you want us to tackle, leave it in the comments below. We certainly appreciate that. It's brought to you by AndyMasonRealEstate.com. AndyMasonRealEstate.com has the best service and prices in the biz. AndyMasonRealEstate.com will get you in the right home, save you thousands or tens of thousands of dollars. Again, that's smoky hot takes. So leave in the comment section below. Do you want us to tackle best running backs of the past 50 years, whatever the case may be? And we'll continue this series throughout the summer and into the fall.